Hello, my name is Stephanie Bell, and I play second flute and piccolo with the Victoria Symphony. This is my third season, and it's just a really wonderful group of people, and I really love this job. So I'm going to answer a few questions. The first question is, what is your favorite piece of music? This is a big question, and instead of answering what my favorite overall piece is, because I just don't even know where I would start, I thought I'd talk a little bit about my favorite piece to play in the orchestra. So my favorite piece to play is Bartók's Concerto for Orchestra, and I like playing the piccolo part. It has some really, really beautiful piccolo writing, especially in the Elegia movement, which is the third movement of the five. And it also has some really fun, extremely high register playing, which I really enjoy. I wanted to do a little demonstration, but these parts aren't really ideal for playing by yourself, so I would really recommend that you go ahead and listen to a recording of this piece, and especially pay attention to the piccolo solos because they're really wonderful. So for my demonstration, I thought I would just play a little bit of one of my favorite solos in the repertoire, and it's from the Overture to Semiramis by Rossini. The next question I have here says, do you enjoy playing the flute or the piccolo more, and how different are they to play? So I definitely enjoy playing the piccolo more than anything else in the world. It's the reason that I got into wanting to play in an orchestra, and there's just always been something about the sound of the piccolo and the complexities of the timbre, as well as the role it plays in the orchestra, that has just always been really fun for me. In many ways, it's more challenging than the flute, but then in other ways, for me, it's been easier to play than the flute just because I feel such an affinity for it. And the role that it plays in the orchestra is something I've always found really interesting. It's often has to be very supported. It's usually played in very loud sections where you play really high notes above the whole orchestra, which is really fun. And then it's also used in very, very delicate places because it projects quite well, so you can hear it very well when no one else is playing. And like I said before, in the Bartók Concerto for Orchestra, the Elegia movement is very quiet, and the piccolo doesn't play very, very high, but it soars above the orchestra, and there's just something incredible, I think, about this instrument. When it comes to playing the flute, my absolute favorite part of playing the flute is when I can play in harmony with someone else rather than by myself, and I really enjoy trying to blend my sound in with other people, especially other flutists. So my job as second flute is really perfect for me because I get to play my piccolo solos, and then I also get to play my favorite role as a second flute player. The instruments are similar to play. I'll hold up my flute here. They use the exact same fingerings for all the exact same notes, just the piccolo is an octave higher than the flute. They are very different in terms of making a sound. The holes is much smaller on the piccolo and much bigger on the flute, so you have to use a very, very different embouchure. So you really have to treat them as two separate instruments when you're learning them. I'm going to play a little bit of a Bach sarabande on the piccolo, just so you can hear it being used in a more lyrical context. The next question here says, do you play any other instruments? So I will say I don't play any other instruments well. I had to spend all my energy learning the flute and the piccolo. I do enjoy playing recorder from time to time. It's very easy. And I also play the alto flute and the bass flute sometimes in the orchestra, but these instruments are exactly the same as flute and piccolo, just with different embouchures. One really nice thing about the flute is that every culture has their own variant on the instrument because it's a really simple, it's a simple instrument in a way. You know, you just blow air across a hole, and every culture has found sort of slightly different things that you can do with that concept. So I've found that I can really make a sound and sort of pick out a little bit of a tune on just about every flute that I encounter, except for the Japanese shakuhachi flute. Never been able to make a sound on one of those. So the last question I have here says, do you play any other types of music outside of what the orchestra plays? So I play a lot of experimental contemporary music that uses a lot of different techniques and is just, you know, a completely different style of composed music than what the orchestra plays. Sometimes we sort of delve a little bit into that world, but I go a lot farther in the work that I do in my duo 1010, which is a flute and clarinet duo. You may hear in the background of this recording a little bit of clarinet being played upstairs. We have been doing a couple of live stream concerts so far during this lockdown time, so we're trying to use this time to do a little bit more of our experimental contemporary music. So I'll show you a couple of these different techniques that I will use often when we're playing contemporary music. One of these is called Flutter Tongue. Sometimes I use this technique in orchestra. And basically you just roll your R's while playing into your flute. And that's it. Another technique is a lip pits. So you just go, and it makes a cool percussive sound. You can also sing and play your flute at the same time. It's hard to pick out a melody, but it can make a really cool sound. So here's a little demo. I made a dog bark. I don't know if you can hear that on the recording. So not everything that we play in contemporary music is jagged and sort of harsh sounding like that. There's a lot of really delicate things that can be done with the flute that just make it sound a little different than what you're used to hearing. So I'm going to play a little section of a piece by a Canadian composer named Robert Aitken. The piece is called Icicle, and this piece just treats the flute very delicately, but what you're going to hear is not sounds that you would usually associate with the flute. I hope you've enjoyed this little demonstration, and I really look forward to seeing you all at a concert, hopefully sometime soon. Thank you so much.